Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. And before I get started, I hope you guys could go check out my Like Father, Like Daughter Kickstarters for the comic book I wrote. It's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him, except for her. And then she inherits his abilities. As low as $1, you're getting over 20 indie books, so definitely go check that out. All the support is appreciated. So let's get into the episode. Of course, by the end of the episode, I will have the viewers' pick of the week. So if you guys have your pick of the week for this week, love to have it in the comments so you guys have a chance to be featured on the video. So starting out with number 11 was kind of, average week for me when it comes down to how many books I got. So number 11 is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 53 LR. Have not been liking these LR issues. Honestly, haven't really been liking this arc overall, but the LR issues especially just feel so fillerish. And I didn't quite like that there was two different artists, and honestly felt like two different stories in this issue. We had, what's his name? Moreland, who is from the Spider-Verse stuff, who I feel like we've seen way too much in the past couple of years, which I guess kind of makes sense with the other Spider characters, but he's not even interacting with the other Spider characters, so he's just really hungry. He interacts with Sin Eater, and then we have, I guess what's somewhat interesting is the Spider people in Peter's mind and seeing his nightmares, but they don't really do much with it. There's like some interesting tidbits that are definitely introduced, but not really fully fleshed out. Like we get to see like an Aunt May zombie creature. We see like a Goblin Queen version of Mary Jane. Cool stuff. Just not a lot of new material. Not a lot of emotional material either. And when it did go to the emotional beats, I felt like it was very repetitive. Things we've seen before. Like Gwen saying, I understand guilt and Julia Carpenter trying to, I guess, relate her guilt and her past to her being compared to the Gwen of the 616. Things we've definitely seen before. And, I enjoyed those themes, but it just kind of feels like they just had to talk about it. It didn't feel organic in this issue. And I do like Takashi's artwork. It's the artist who's done Spider-Gwen, but it didn't really feel like a fit here, and it didn't feel like a fit for this flagship Amazing Spider-Man book. So overall, I'm going to give this one 2 stars. Not a lot happens here, and just not really feeling this arc overall. So, like I said, that's 2 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is Excalibur, issue 15. So this is the last week of X of Swords. This week I'll actually be doing a topic video for Friday, which is, was X of Swords a good event? Was it worth the hype? Was it worth all the parts? I will be discussing that on Friday. But with this issue, we get to see the action definitely ramp up a bit, with characters I didn't quite care about, though. So we get the setup between Apocalypse and his lover, fighting it out, and I just felt like it was a little messy because there was a lot trying to be introduced so quickly, which is so strange because this is like a 22-part book or 22-part event, and it just felt like things were really rushed by the end. So, and that really felt it in this issue, which is why it's a little lower. Also, it kind of deals with some stuff that's been going in Excalibur, which I don't read, and I don't particularly love the characters from Excalibur. So it didn't really do much for me, the big moments of this issue. But artwork for all these X of Swords books has been really solid, and dark also, which has been interesting to see. So I'm giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 8, another X of Swords book, and that is X of Swords Destruction, issue 1. This is the actual final part of X of Swords. It's so weird to talk about these out of order, but this one was a little higher because it definitely, once again, ramps up the action. There's some more exciting moments that happen here, like all the X-Men, all the mutants kind of coming in to try to save the day. I will say this issue kind of leaves it off on a simmer, though. It really has to do with the characters of Excalibur and whatever her name is, the Queen character who's from Excalibur. That's how big of a fan I am. They don't say her name in the credits. They say everyone else's name, but it's Saturnine. We definitely get a lot from her and the whole Captain Britain aspect of the series, which, I didn't quite love, and I felt like the battle, kind of went down a simmer, even though obviously there was a lot of action in between. There just wasn't a lot of huge moments that I particularly liked. There were big moments like Captain Britain core coming back. That's cool, but not really into it. A lot of the apocalypse mythology wasn't really for me either. So overall, it was an okay ending for me, and we'll talk about if it was a good event or not in that Friday video. So giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 10. I'm sorry, that was number 9. And I think I said it was number 8 because I renumbered this wrong on here, so that's number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Department of Truth, issue 3. I know this is probably shocking for you guys. That's a little lower. It's hard because I like the concept of this book a lot. I just don't know if I love the execution, and I don't know if I'm going to continue the book because of it. Like, I think it's a really cool concept of conspiracy theories and what's true and what's not, and there's definitely an interesting political commentary here. But just the way it is told, it's very much about exposition and like, this is what this girl is feeling, instead of it being on the flip side of us getting an internal monologue of like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I think if it was in that regard, then this story would be a little bit higher on my list, because I want to feel the woman's pain, because there's this woman in this issue that deals with her son being shot by a shooting, and then there's conspiracy theories around it, and definitely an interesting thing that they delved into with this issue. But I felt her emotions, but I feel like I would have felt her emotions even more if it was an internal dialogue and internal monologue, because that's the issue. I feel like all the characters kind of feel a hand away, some distance, and that's not particularly the type of storytelling I like. So I don't know if I'm going to continue with this one. Not a bad series, just not calling me as like, I need that next issue. I'm like, oh, it's a good issue. So I'm going to give that 3 stars. Artwork is very unique for this one, though, especially a lot of the splash pages and just the way that story is being told with the dialogue. Kind of feels more like a picture book, which is weird to say because technically comics are picture books, but it feels more like an illustration book than a comic, which is kind of cool. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, the last X of Swords book of the week, and that is X-Men issue 15. So this one, the reason this is higher, it had a little bit more emotion and a bit more of the characters I particularly am more invested in. So we have the Summers family, so Jean and Cyclops, really giving up everything, kind of giving up paradise to save their son, and knowing that they might not be able to go back. And I guess we'll see how that's affected in future X-Men issues, if that's true after X of Swords. But I like that. I thought the emotions were really well done. And then we still do have the action between Apocalypse and, I believe, his wife in this issue as well. They cut between both, but it was really about Cyclops and Jean, which I liked. And also there's a new artist in this book, but I think with the coloring, it kind of made it feel pretty similar to the artist we've been getting. So I like that. That was pretty consistent. So overall, I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. Again, this was a bit more of the emotional one. The characters I cared about a bit more, which is why it's a bit higher. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, the last issue of Suicide Squad, issue 11. And this was pretty good. They do focus on some characters we haven't seen in a while. I think his name is Jog. And that, I felt like, took a little bit too much time in this issue. But I feel like it really shined when the Suicide Squad, or Task X, were the heroes. And Justice League is trying to take credit for it. And they're like, well, you guys are going to go to jail. And they're like, no, they saved the day. Get out of here. So I like that. And I like the open-ended ending where we get to see the revolutionaries become the revolutionaries. So will we get another series just titled something different? I hope so, because I really like Tom Taylor's voice on this book and his art team as well. So I hope we get to see more of this version of the Suicide Squad. I don't know, because like, why give up calling your book Suicide Squad. I feel like it would sell better if it is. So would they switch it to being Revolutionaries? Would it just be another volume? Or are we just not getting any Suicide Squads? So we'll hopefully see in the next couple of months what they're going to do with that. Will only be a digital book. Again, we'll see. But I enjoyed this one. Definitely the emotional beats with Harley leaving and talking to Deadshot's daughter. I wish we had more moments of that. I really wanted to see her journey and how she's affected by her father's death, and that's why I kind of wish this series was going on for a little longer. I don't know if it was exactly the most satisfying ending, but it also doesn't really feel like an ending. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. Artwork was really solid, good action, good emotion in this one, and again, I like that there was an open ending that hopefully we'll get more. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, issue 4. Sabrina has been a really solid book for me. I think it's like the only Archie comic that's coming out. I think you still have the digest stuff, but Sabrina is like the comic one that's coming out. And I enjoyed this issue. It has a good mix of drama and witchery, I guess, where we get to see the Wendigos are the people from her school, one her love interest, the other kind of her enemy. Finally, I would say get along with maybe not being Wendigos anymore. Sabrina tries to help, but she keeps messing up because she's only a teenage witch. So that's a big part of it, and her trying to balance being immortal, and all the things that you like about Sabrina the Teenage Witch is definitely here, and with the added element of drama with Harvey finding out that she was hanging out with that guy. He's like, oh, do you even like me? So there's a lot of drama here. But yeah, I still enjoyed the witchcraft stuff too. We get to see who was kind of behind all of this and her just trying to balance it all. And the artwork is really bright, but also kind of brings into those dark tones and a good balance of this kind of slice of life story as well. Just really perfect look for this book. So overall, I'm giving that 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Batman White Knight, Harley Quinn issue 2. I love the White Knight series. I just love the take that they have on Batman. It feels different, but really goes into some themes that I don't think a main book would be able to do. I've said that about 3 Jokers as well. White Knight, I feel like, started that. And here we really get to dig deep into Harley's relationship with Jack, not the Joker, and why she actually cared about him, and you understand why she cared about him. So there's some really good flashbacks as we go into the present of her trying to figure out this mystery of this Hollywood guy who died, which I believe is named Jason Todd, or they at least name dropped Jason Todd in this issue. Pam's in this issue as well, which is so interesting of like how the love story has developed and changed with Harley Quinn, where I love Poison Ivy and Harley's relationship and her growth in the main continuity, or I would at least even just say the TV show, I think does such a beautiful job at it, maybe before even the comics have. But this is also another interesting tackle on the Joker-Harley relationship and to show her growth as a character, and that's been interesting. Even if Poison Ivy's not involved, and her maybe being with Bruce has just been kind of puts this relationship on its head, which I really like. And yeah, overall, there's really good moments. I like Harley being a hero and being the main character of this, being a mom has been really cool. I like the artwork as well. It's a little bit more silky than the more gritty artwork of White Knight, but it totally works for this. But it definitely still has the line work of White Knight. Maybe just a different style of coloring. It's a different artist, but the artist definitely matches Sean Murphy's work, which has been really great for this book. So I'm enjoying it. I'm having a fun time with it. And if you haven't been reading the White Knight series, do yourself a favor and read White Knight, because it's a really cool universe, and glad to see it expanding even more with not just the main series, but something like Harley Quinn and hopefully more in the future. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Chew, issue 5. This was a roller coaster ride. I did not expect many things that happen here. There's a huge time jump. It's only issue 5, and we get a 3-year time jump where Chew versus Chew. We get to see the main character of the old Chew and this Chew, brother and sister, go at it. And she goes to jail for 3 years, even though it probably should have been more because she murdered someone. But she gets off the hook, and a lot has changed in her life, and she goes up against her brother and says, hey, I learned a lot in jail. Good luck. I'm going to do my thing. And jail has not made me want to not do crime. And that was really interesting. Artwork is just, I love how cartoony it is. It makes it very easy to read. But as you can see, there's a lot of dark drama in this issue as well. A lot of good family moments in this. I think this is probably the strongest issue of Chew yet. And of course, we have to wait for the next volume until April. But it's definitely going to be worth the wait. Very good first story arc. Excited to see what the second story arc will do. And if you haven't read Chew, the trade comes out in January. So do yourself a favor and read it. I've never read the original Chew. It's a very, very easy jumping on point if you've never read the original. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2. Love this book. Become one of my quick favorites, and that is Scumbag issue 2. Man, this is such a good book. I love the voices, and I would say the conflicting voices of this book, because we get to see the secret agent girl who needs to follow our main character and make sure he does what he needs to do correctly, and says, all right, well, you need to save the world. You get your drugs later, and you see just how different they are. And there's just this really great opening of saying, well, let me read it exactly. My therapist once told me I need to learn to love myself more. And it's like, maybe that's some bullshit they say to everybody. But then you got our main character here, Ernie. He definitely doesn't have to deal with that. And so you just already from the get-go understand, okay, these are 2 completely different characters by whim, an odd couple who have to interact with each other and work together. And again, you have this kind of sci-fi agent character, and then Ernie, who is a scumbag. So it's just such an interesting dichotomy in this issue. I will say I gave this 4 stars because some of the government stuff were a little slower for me and kind of exposition scenes here, but I love the character moments and I love the artwork. It's just such a cool book and so different and a really good character-driven book. So I'm giving Scumbag issue 2 4 stars, and that is my number 2 pick. Moving on to number 1. Guys know I've been waiting for this. I'm so happy it's here. And that is Power Pack issue 1. If you guys don't know, I am a huge Power Pack fan and a very big Julie Power fan. So I'm very happy to see the Power Pack back. I will say I had my reservations for this mini-series. 2 reasons. I haven't been really loving Outlawed. And another reason I was kind of scared that they were going to retcon a lot for Power Pack to fit within Outlawed. Now, I feel like they did a good way of dancing around the, I guess, things that they could have retconned, because technically from what we've been seeing in previous Power Pack stories, or at least Julie and Alex stories, because they've just been scattered in the Marvel Universe without any Power Pack stuff. Honestly, Jack and Katie really haven't had much story in a very long time, but Julie and Alex have been popping in and out, especially Alex is the Future Foundation member, so we've seen him, and we had the miniseries with him as well, and he's definitely older than 18, right? Like, he's older. So I don't think they've ever said his age, but if you do the math, he's older. And then with Julie, back in Loners, I think she was 17 and she went to Hollywood. Then she went to college and she's probably over 18, but they're trying to dance around it because this is Outlawed. They all have to be kids. They're still the youngest superheroes of the Marvel Universe, or at least they started that way. So it's something they have to dance with. And honestly, I think they did a pretty good job at it, which is already a kind of complicated timeline. And overall, I just thought that the voices were so good in this issue. It really, you felt like the writer, and you know that the writer knew these voices, likes Power Pack, and has read all Power Pack. And, you know, that was also a little bit of a worry as well. It's like, we just need to have the Power Pack. So it was really nice that it was very grounded within past Power Pack stories, which also kind of gets complicated because there's been so many versions of the Power Pack. So it's like, which version are you gonna use? So that was really nice. That it felt like old school Power Pack without forgetting what has happened within the Marvel Universe with especially Julie and Alex. So there are references of Alex going to space and Julie going to space. Julie's girlfriend, Ricky. So very happy that we had that as well because we actually haven't really seen much of her sexuality, I guess, explored in the Power Pack universe. I like that. I like that the family knows that she's with Ricky. So I really enjoyed that as well. And this issue's in Katie's point of view. I guess my little nitpick would be her voice is still very young, but I'm guessing she still is a young kid. They're just a little bit older, right? So Katie, I think the last time we saw her, she was like in 5th or 4th grade. So it still felt a little young. I guess 5th graders are kind of young anyways. But then you have Jack, who's probably in high school, and I like seeing him grow. That was kind of cool. And the point of the story is that Katie wants to tell her parents that they're the Power Pack, and they're like, no, we can't tell. And of course, that's kind of the big theme and drama that they always have. Like, oh, do we tell our parents? We don't want them to get hurt. But then that goes into Fantastic Four, that they went to space with them. So I thought they already kind of knew they were the Power Pack. And in the old series, they knew. So that, the continuity, I don't know about that one. That was a little fishy, a little lopsided, I guess. But again, this one's just so hard to really tell the continuity because of the outlawed event. But anyway, so we get to see Katie want to tell her parents. They're like, no. And they got to go fight one of their old villains, Boogeyman, and they go under arrest because of outlawed. And you're like, oh man, they're probably gonna have to tell their parents at this point. So I just thought it was a really well-paced issue, and it really showcased all the voices really well. And that's something I was, again, nervous about, and I'm very happy that it was told well. Artwork, I do think there could have been a little bit more detailed in places, and maybe it's just because the coloring and the line work wasn't exactly colliding well, in my opinion. Like, it didn't marry itself as well as it could have, but I still like the artwork. I think obviously the cartoony nature fits for the Power Pack, so hopefully you enjoyed this detailed review with Power Pack. I'm just excited that it's back, and I really did enjoy it, and I'm excited for more. I'm excited to see more of these characters, and I hope it becomes more than a mini series. So go pick up Power Pack if you can. I'm just so happy to see more of these characters, and really what the theme of this issue is, like, they're finally back together, because it's been so long. Like, we've been seeing Alex, we've been seeing Julie in scattered places, but we really haven't seen the 4 of them in a long time. And to have who used to be the youngest superheroes of the Marvel Universe play a part in this teen event, I think is really important. I'm glad that they're a part of it. So overall, giving this one 4.5 stars. I had a blast, and I can't wait to read issue 2. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite books were, and please let me know your pick of the week so I could possibly highlight your pick of the week. So this pick of the week for this week was Black Magic, which has been a really good book. That was actually the last issue of the arc, so we might have to wait a while for the next issue, but I also really enjoyed Black Magic last week, and here are some comments about Black Magic. And hopefully you guys enjoyed. Of course, go check out my Kickstarter for Like Father, Like Daughter. It'd be greatly appreciated. Go check out my Twitter and Facebook. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly. So hopefully you guys go check that out as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.